Fout.
We're live. Oh, the camera.
Are we?
Here we go. Hello. Welcome to the live
Hey,
stream. It's Saturday.
what a beautiful day, right?
Yes, so relaxed. So is this the first time we did a Saturday? We couldn't do the live stream yesterday night. To be honest, it was more because we're just pooped, I think, than that we were not behind the PC. Just mostly pooped. So we decided to do it today. I see two very awake looking people. Oh yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yo,
for me, I'm totally not awake, to be honest. Normally, I'm the awake guy because it's like my afternoon and it's Calder's evening. Calder's like super tired.
well, I had a really great morning, and I have to say that now I'm reaching kind of end of the afternoon. I'm getting a little bit of a dip, but I still have a beautiful. It's still daylight outside, so for a change
Hmm.
during the live stream.
How is that possible?
How is it possible? So I'm actually very happy with early live stream. It's very convenient for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I also like it. I mean, maybe Saturdays, we used to do it on Sundays, right?
We
A
used to
few
do it
years ago.
Sunday, but then Sunday became like a very felt like an extra working day burden or something, which was a
Yeah.
bit after a while it got a bit too much, so we moved it to Friday. Yeah.
So now it's Friday, just a day off almost, because we do nothing and only prepare the live stream the whole morning. And then we have a live stream and we're so tired that we need to go to bed.
Well, Friday definitely makes it easier to just do the live stream, and then you can close the whole week,
Hmm.
which is nice. But yesterday was different. Uh, I didn't have a too great day. Erik was a bit really pooped. So anyway,
A red stream on Saturday. No,
no,
no.
no, no.
Saturday's a
There's no rant stream. Can't promise I won't rant, but it's not a rant stream today. It's a Saturday stream today. Uh, but I think the weeks passed by very fast. We did also last live stream, right? Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure we did. We did about keycaps. That's what we did. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So but scroll wheels. Woohoo. Uh, but let's see. This live stream, which we would have done yesterday otherwise, uh, you know, I have to say it's a bit hard every 2 weeks on Friday to really think of what to talk about. But we do have something new to show today. Uh, Darren vs. 8 hours Calder talking about keycaps ASMR. Hey, White Scourge. I can go on for very, very long about scroll wheels, mice, bullshit, keycaps, some keyboard things that annoy me. Should I take my tweeting to pass supremo? Okay, so anyway, so today's live stream, we actually want to showcase the new DKS. So DKS we've been going over like multiple times, right? But today we have like let's say semi-final version, which was also before semi-final version, but I think UX UI wise, it's final next to some polish maybe, but the whole let's say UX is final, right? For how to
Yeah,
do
well,
things
for
in
the public
DKS.
release, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it's still not 100% perfect, but it's a lot better than we had in the past, and I think that's great to see how it keeps growing. And I think within a half year, it will probably evolve to something a little bit different, but I think we now reached that very nice core. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Lasaja. Yeah, so that we'll be diving into advanced DKS and DKS in general later on
Mm.
in the stream. Let's just first start the day a bit. I mean, for you guys, it's starting the day. Oh, there's the first one. Oh. So how are people in chat doing? And I noticed, for example, on Discord, there's a lot less help problems. I always see Rocky diving still very deep into
Mm.
issues, coming still with really great suggestions. We haven't implemented all the suggestions yet, but we've already tested a couple which seem to work. Um, But then I'm start diving into a different topic, which is the first time that we'll release the closed alpha, where we start implementing some of those suggestions and put it to the test. But that's for another time. So that was awesome. But in general, it seems to be less and less.
Mhm.
And of course, because we just mentioned DKS, I see Darren VS says, I'm happy about the DKS.
Someone is happy. Yes, finally.
Yeah, the
Finally.
beta, the new beta is out right now. If you're already running the beta client, you should have had a utility update. And otherwise, you can go to Discord, the beta channel, and then you can also see the DKS. And this will be probably the public version. Now, one thing I'm not 100% sure of, I'm almost 100% sure, because I checked with Jeroen. We also implemented a new sleep fix. I don't want to dive off different topics very fast, but I just remembered this one. There's a new sleep fix. So if you still have an issue where your keyboard doesn't wake up the PC, or your keyboard doesn't wake up itself, mainly. So if you use a keyboard to wake up your PC and the keyboard seems to be slow or not really typing, meaning that the keyboard is still in sleep mode, there's now which is also for Mac, okay? There's now kind of like a how do you call that? Hard fix way to get your keyboard out of sleep, which is press any button for 2 seconds.
I think the sleep is such an incredible issue because it's something we had from the beginning, and we fixed it multiple times in different ways. And each time somebody has a new situation which we didn't account for, because sleeping at a computer and keeping your keyboard communicated or not is such a difficult issue.
Apparently,
Funny
it
enough.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been lingering since the start of the keyboard, to be honest. And every time we fought, or I should say, every time Jeroen fought, he fixed it, and somehow it still came back. And really don't understand. Yeah, still don't have a good grip on what is really why.
There's something I really need to address because I'm very curious. Like little eggs Danish, I'm just fine. Just got reminded that I spilled bee piss on my Wooting last weekend. I did clean it up though. Is that bee piss?
What is beepis?
It sounded like piss from bees.
I have no idea what beepis is.
Oh, me neither, but I like the word bee piss.
Look it up. Pepsi. Oh, Pepsi.
Oh,
Maybe.
oh, that's horrible. You
Oh,
spilled Pepsi on your keyboard.
chat was also got onto it.
Well, bee
Yeah.
piss is it's more fun, right, than Pepsi.
But I am curious. Little Danish, did you open up the whole keyboard and clean it up? Because I've like, well, that's not true. I wanted to say from all my time that I've had a keyboard, I've only once spilled a drink on my keyboard, which was at a LAN. And that time we still had membrane keyboards. There was no such thing as mechanical keyboards for gaming or something like that. So that was not a big deal, because you would just literally just hang it upside down or something and let it dry. And it was like a Logitech keyboard, and it still works.
Well, I actually had the same with my the only keyboard I actually spilled a drink over. I think it was Fanta or Fernandez, something like that, and it was over my G15 and it didn't work anymore. But I just put it in the dishwasher, let it dry for a week, and then it worked again.
Oh yeah, I remember you put it
Yeah,
in the dishwasher. Yeah.
it's funny how it
That was
still works,
also
right?
your Logitech keyboard, right?
Yeah, it was the original OG G15.
Yeah.
Nobody can break that shit.
I would concur with Darren VS that it's really recommended to still open up the keyboard and try to. You can touch the PCB and see where it's sticky. If it's sticky, that means Pepsi got through, and you better get it away, because especially the acids of Coke and Pepsi, they're very high acid content. That really eats into the PCB. So it might work fine now, but maybe a couple months down the road, something might break. So it's really the best to open it up and just make 100% sure. And it's really
And if you
easy
want
to
to
open
clean
up.
it, You can get a really soft toothbrush, like a really soft one, and use isotropic alcohol to clean it a little bit.
Isotropic alcohol.
Isotropic alcohol.
Where can you
Don't
get
drink
something
it.
like that? At like what do you call that in English?
Uit de drogisterij, de pharmacy.
Drogisterij? The pharmacy. That's it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or buy it online, right? I mean, it's not such
DKS.
a.
Any corrosion on any connector will change the analog value of the affected key, so it's quite important for routing. Darren VS makes a very good point. That is true. I'll tell you
WPS
even
should work
more.
for us.
What we found out, this was during the Wooting 1 production also, was that the quality of the PCB is very important. So you can buy PCBs with different levels of quality, and the difference in quality mostly has to do with the copper inside the PCB, because that's the most expensive part. And the copper is what the whole thing is wired with. So if the quality of the PCB would be on the cheaper side, the quality of the copper was less, and it would 100% influence the analog signal. So yes.
So that's it. That's the live stream. Thanks everyone for watching.
Hionimi spilled a whole mug of hot cocoa perfectly on top of his G19. Took it apart, cleaned it, worked perfectly. G19, that would be the latest version of the screen stuff, isn't it?
That was where the
The
screen was like
triangle shape.
fixed and you couldn't pop it out, and it was like it had
Fixed,
less
yeah.
macro keys, I believe, and it was an orange backlit on the top of my head.
Yeah, I remember also orange colors, yeah.
Mm.
But I don't know if it was orange backlit. The screen was orange, but you say color screen. Oh, I thought the screen
No,
was orange.
I think the RGB backlit was also orange,
Oh, right.
but maybe they just had different
Yeah, he
models.
says
I don't know.
RGB lit.
Oh, it's RGB.
Right.
Mm.
That was the start
Cool.
of RGB, alright? Yeah, RGB has really hit its limit. Holy shit. No, G19 had RGB in color scheme. Oh, Quinn is confirming.
Quinn knows everything about the G15 series,
You're able to place a link here. That's
but
okay.
only from Wooting products, no different products. I should get banned.
Yeah. Only Wooting promo stuff. Was it 200 plus euros? The G19?
I can imagine it was. I mean, the G15 wasn't that cheap.
Wow, I totally forgot what the prices were of those keyboards back in the day, but I remembered at most what I spent on a rubber dome keyboard those days was 100 euros, I think. Was the most.
Wow, you probably paid more for your G15, right?
I don't know. No, I had. No, I don't know. Coincidence, the G15 is orange, is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, well, there is an orange one, but it's
No, there's
also
a
a
blue
blue one.
version. There was the OG version.
Mm. Looking at the prices of the G15 never was that expensive though.
No,
It was between 60 and 100 euros.
there we go. So, I actually, after the G15, I bought another Logitech keyboard, but it was the more simplified one, like the 100 something. Had no screen. Looked a bit more simplistic, but I think not much long after I started with my first mechanical keyboard. So then I got into StarCraft.
Well, then you need mechanical keyboards, right?
I have to say, the first time I had mechanical keyboard, I had brown switches, and I just couldn't get used to how light they were, and the bump. I didn't like the bump. I think I didn't like the bump that time. It did feel smooth, but it was very difficult to control that time. Now my opinion totally flipped, which is stupid, but it's just a matter of getting used to. So Wooting Free gets an LCD screen confirmed?
Yes.
Oh!
Not a LCD
screen.
touchscreen with 3D functionality.
Yes!
Yes.
LCD screen, we were actually planning to do it in the Wooting 2 in our original many ideas drawing stuff. But
Mm.
I think what really kills the LCD screen idea is not so much that the idea itself, it's the amount of additional work it will require to make it good, versus that work being spent on analog input and more important parts of the keyboard. So which is, we felt, I mean, it's not like that time we're like, oh, scratch the LCD screen idea off, but it was more that time we're like, well, let's not make it too complicated for ourselves. But LCD screen,
Oh, damn. Big brain AFK is onto us that the Wooting 3 will be the Wooting 3D.
oh, we should do like the cheap 3D style, you know, those cards with reflect them 3D. Yeah,
Or that you need to put on the glasses,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
blue and red
That
one.
would be even better. You know, you get some like cheap paper glasses with the plastic glass and the paper frame. um, that one cheated, especially if you compared it. I got my Wooting one for 120 as well. Whoa, you got a good deal for your Wooting one, 120.
I got it for 120.
Uh, what did I miss here? Now I'm on a keyboard with just 47 keys. Yeah, I've tried that, but you it's not really a problem when you start writing stuff. It just starts to become a problem when you want to use special characters and arrows and that kind of stuff. And for me personally, when you start using too much function layers, it just becomes a bit clumsy. That's how I want to say it. Yeah.
Well, I really like the small keyboard design in general because it's easy to take with you, right? Especially if you work remotely or on the go or you go to school,
That's
you
true,
can
which is
you can
very
just
nice
flip
to
it
have.
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, especially if you're in school, just get like the blue ones or clears and they're like da 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 da.
What about the screen attachment for the top of the Wooting 2? It could be like that screen that's on MacBooks. That
That's also
sounded a
a
bit
thought,
weird.
right?
It could be like a screen. Oh, right. No, no,
The
like the
touch
strip.
bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you would make it an attachment. That would be very. That would be very interesting. It's a bit over. It will be over engineered to modify to work with the current Wooting 2. But I think it would be pretty cool to have such a bar on the keyboard on the top.
Well, I think you can actually make it, right? You just need a touch screen, make it
But
as long as the Wii
but the
2,
thing is,
and click it in with the USB pass-through. And
yeah. But I think that for in our case, we don't need it to be touch. You just want it to be a screen. That's it, and it
yeah,
doesn't
but
need to have
touch is
color
pretty cool.
either. If I would think about it. But yeah, here you see we have changeable graphics. So that's the thing. If you want to do screen very good, I've actually written a whole note about doing LCD screen and how to do it good. I put some serious thought into it, and also looked at there's other keyboards, like there's an EVGA keyboard, for example, that you don't know about, which has a screen. Let me look it up.
Only Wooting stuff in the chat.
Don't buy their keyboard, no!
No, no, no.
It's called the Z10 apparently, I think.
Hmm.
Let me see. Is this it? Yeah, here we go.
Well, and also another thing, we didn't want to make our keyboard into a freak show or a feature freak, and so everything you add to the keyboard should add value to your use. And sure, an LCD screen can add tremendous amount of value to a keyboard, but like Calder said, you need to implement it properly, and you need to have the correct support for it. And well,
'Cause if
we
you
just want to
don't-
focus on analog at the moment.
Yeah, and if you don't implement it properly, you're gonna get the thing like EVGA, where yes, there's a screen, but geez, you know, what can you really do with it? I mean, the software looks really terrible, by the way, but what can you really do with the screen? And their example with the screen is, you know, your CPU temperature and everything. It's like, that's like, that idea of being able to see that, it's not that it's bad or it's no good to see it on your keyboard. It could be pretty useful. But it doesn't make the screen worth it. It doesn't really add that value.
Doesn't justify it.
It doesn't justify
That's
it.
it.
That's the word. Yeah. So.
Oh,
And,
that spacebar though.
Oh, I didn't even check the space bar. Oh yeah, extra big.
Damn.
You can rest your thumb on the side on the bottom.
So you can touch it accidentally all the time. They have a cool volume slider though. I mean, it's actually a slider.
Oh yeah, true. Wow, I
It's,
never realized that. Wait, can you
it's not
press like
even.
the number or something? No, it's really like a technical data sheet. Number 4, volume brightness slider. Number 4 in the picture. There. Oh.
Boom. In case you missed it, right?
Yeah.
One USB ports. I don't see any
Really,
USB ports.
EVGA also jumping on the bandwagon. Well, if that would be the bandwagon of keyboards and mice, yes. And they've had keyboard and mice for a little while. But this is also what I find so funny is it's this typical behavior where they try to open up. They have really popular brand with for video cards, and because it's for gaming, they think they can just do it also really well for keyboard and mice. But it's a totally different kind of category. You can't just like doesn't matter how good you make the keyboard if you don't know what you're doing or you're not your band is not focused on it or you don't make the right introduction. There's no point, and that's what
Mm.
happens with their keyboard. Like nobody heard of it, and it's just out there. And I don't know. I don't know if you can still buy it. Probably. Usually, what these kind of companies do is they just produce like one or like 3,000 keyboards at most, and then they throw it on the market. Most time only in US, or just US layout, and then it dies off or it sells, and they have the money to do that.
I think Kanushi makes a good point. I'm surprised that no one mentioned Art. What is it? Liebe Dev, the Optimus
Just
Bow.
maximum
Yeah,
customized LED.
yeah. I mean, that's a whole different story. I mean, I still think that the concept of this keyboard is really cool, but it also has a lot of flaws in my opinion. And each time when I looked at the keyboard, the only thing I could think of was, oh, my hands are going to get sore if I use this keyboard. And I think the keys will also be a little bit warm compared to non-LED keys because the LEDs will produce heat, right?
Wait, the LED
Let's
keys will
see.
what?
Well, the LCD screens under the keys will produce a lot of heat, so the keys will be
Oh, yeah. I wonder.
well.
I wonder in general how they deal with the energy consumption because you would definitely have to plug in 2 USB ports or something like that, or have like an external power supply or something like that. But there was another company that tried to do the LCD screen keycaps keyboard style, but then for gaming,
Yeah,
and they did a Kickstarter. It's just that they didn't make it. It didn't go too well, and they had a pretty big team, which just surprised me.
yeah, yeah. But I think right after the Kickstarter, they just all banned it because I was around on Discord for a while, but nobody ever responded, and then everybody left the Discord,
Yeah,
which was kind of a shame.
yeah. I wonder. Yeah, I mean, I would never pick up that IP also because I don't believe it's a good idea to implement it because it's so over expensive to make and
Mm.
usefulness is very limited. What I did find really good was that time it's called Yobel or Yobi or something, which was a also like a keyboard with a screen on each key, but it was a e-ink screen. So each
Yeah,
key had e-ink. There,
that's
Cypher just mentioned also how about e-ink. So that was that
e-ink is not a
keyboard,
smart
yeah,
idea.
and that was more focused on Office also, which made also more sense. Uh, so for creatives and Office use, I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then again, yeah, how it's good, but it's I don't know.
I mean, that's the most useful thing you can put on a key, in my opinion. It has very low power consumption,
Yes.
and only when you change anything, it will consume power. So it's
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that was the I think that was the best implementation, better than the Maximus something keyboard
mm,
also because that one is just really expensive, and once you start fiddling around with the software, you still start to realize how overcomplicated things are in the end, and it's not really, yeah. I don't. I think it's a very specific niche that would really want to use that, because they're still around. They've been around for pretty long, also.
Anyway, another great idea we had for the Wooting 2 was to add a wheel to the side of the keyboard. And when we thought about this idea, then we started researching it, and we figured out that Logitech stole our idea and he made already a product out of it.
But it's really expensive, though.
Yeah, but the idea was very cool,
Yeah.
right?
No, but
You could use
how
the scroll wheel.
Razer Huntsman, I think, implemented the scroll wheel. Not the scroll, the volume wheel. Um, I think that's a pretty good implementation. I don't know about the quality of the wheel, because that's our biggest gripe when it comes to the wheel.
Hmm.
Is that the quality of the wheel very often is pretty shit. And it's more. I really feel to me it starts to feel like a gadget thingy, you know. And that's the problem. My problem with a lot of gaming keyboards, they start adding stuff which more feels like a finicky something they just added to up the value or to make it more gaming, but it doesn't feel like there was a real effort put into it. It's just like the volume buttons. Most often, their membrane buttons are very cheap switch buttons, and when you press them, they're really mushy or really harsh. Uh, So, I mean, and there's a good reason for it. I mean, you don't want to spend a lot of money uh, making really quality buttons if you need to hit a certain price target and just need to say volume buttons, volume wheel. Dish.
I mean, but let's be honest. If you have a very good button on your keyboard, not even switches, but like extra buttons, they add so much value because it's so nice to play with. I mean, I like to flip switches and do clicky things with buttons and press them all around.
Yeah, but it's the switch is already more expensive than one of those separate buttons. Depends on the switch also, I guess. Um, let's see. Like mouse wheel. I think I wonder. I don't know if I've seen it. Mouse scroll wheel style volume scroller. I mean, yes, you have like the long bar scroll wheels, but what about similar size to a mouse scroll wheel? Oh, I've seen it once on the 10 kilos version, Chinese manufacturer, next to the above the arrow area, or next to it, which was pretty dope. I think it looks a bit weird, but it's a pretty dope idea that what they did.
It's interesting what the discussion Yon, me, and Brain AFK have about a gaming keyboard. What makes the gaming keyboard? I mean, our keyboard is certainly suited for gaming and arguably the best for gaming, right? But yeah, I think especially with the Wooting one, we tried to strike a we. I still think we made some design flaws with the Wooting one, especially how it looks and the bigger space on top of the keyboard. Everything we skimmed with the Wooting two, and I think at that point we wanted to have a mix between a gaming keyboard, a mechanical keyboard, and just have something for the mechanical keyboard enthusiasts to gaze about or something, or to like it.
Well, I think when we did the design of that keyboard, we were also in an era where all the big companies all had these really overdone
Alienated.
gaming alien keyboards. Yeah, and our philosophy was just to keep it simple. And this is a gaming keyboard that doesn't have all that bullshit, and it's just, it's a mechanical keyboard, doesn't look like a kid's toy, and it's worthy of your desk. That was kind of the idea. But we can see over the last 3 years, I guess, that new keyboard models has been coming out. They're also now more and more clean, more simplistic, and less bullshit from the bigger companies then.
Yeah, yeah, and like what Brain AFK says, it's kind of boost because most people who don't have knowledge about keyboards in general, they just go for a gaming brand that they know. And I mean, that's fine because if you buy a Razer keyboard, you can assume that it's especially made for gamers because the slogan is like for gamers by gamers or anything. And the funny thing is, if you closely look at the marketing, I think 2 weeks ago they re-announced all their products to a updated 2019 feel, like the Black Widow and a headset, the Kraken or whatever. And but about the keyboard, so if you look through the tech specs, they have something called ultra polling, 1,000 hertz. It's like, I mean, all the keyboards for the last 10 years have like 1,000 hertz polling, but now suddenly it's ultra polling. Okay.
That's also what we had such a gripe with in the gaming industry, where they just reintroduced the wheel to make it sound like it's so special for gaming now all of a sudden. But there is definitely I think when you look for gaming components, there are definitely when most of the time if there's gaming in the name, it's mostly because they'll change the design to fit more with gaming. But I guess if you would really look at gaming futures for a keyboard before analog, it would nowadays it comes down to it needs to have the USB extension, the volume knob, the volume keys, macro keys, right? It has to have maybe RGB lights, right? This is now the definition. Becomes the definition of gaming keyboard. But it used to be in the sense of the keyboard was adjusted, better suited for gaming, which was anti-ghosting that time. Well, I don't know about durability though, but definitely anti-ghosting that time, which was an issue. And also what they do now for game keyboards is about they talk about the chip, for example, how fast it processes signal, kind of thing. And I guess also
because there's so much out there, so much competition, that it's a really competitive market, right? The gaming keyboards or gaming peripherals in general. And I think that all these big companies, they just try to be unique with their technical features, even though on most of the keyboards, the technical features are identical. Because let's be honest, I mean, if you buy a keyboard over 100 or 150 euros or dollars, you can assume that it has like everything you need, like the Anki rollover, anti-ghosting, 1,000 hertz polling and all that kind of jazz. I mean, that's just something you can assume, but still they really try to twist their tech specs in a cool and unique way to make it sound cooler than the competition actually is. And we always had a philosophy that, sure, I mean, tech specs are important so people can compare stuff, but it shouldn't be a unique selling point. The unique selling point, or your selling point of your keyboard, should be its unique features or the story behind it, or what you can actually do with it or use it, in a practical sense.
Yeah. Makes me also think there's another trick used with gaming by Chinese manufacturers. They'll throw gaming in the keyboard, and heck, you don't know what the fuck kind of cheap components they got from whatever cheap manufacturer that will die after 1 or 2 years on the PCB. What they also do is the pictures are all like the keyboard has like rainbow colors, and then it's only after you bought it and you have it, you realize, oh, it's like fixed in this color setting. There is no individual RGB that I can it's not programmable RGB or something. No, it's just fixed in that color setting.
Yeah.
And they just find all these different little tricks to make the keyboard really cheap, and sell it for cheap also. So I mean, and that's also the general thing, is if you're going to buy a cheap keyboard or a cheap product, you shouldn't be surprised if the shit they use was also pretty cheap, because there is definitely for making products and also for keyboards, there's definitely like a low and a high range of cost for keyboards, which if the range of where that cost goes to, it differs, but there are some basics which ranges from the plastics they use up to the PCB quality they use, and the quality of the SMT or soldering, for example. And these are things they'll most skimp on. Or quality control has a high cost also, so they'll skip on quality control. So you have a chance to get a shitty one, and then they'll just send you a new one, for example. Yeah.
Well, I think if you talk about prices, I mean, if you buy a keyboard over 100 euros or dollars, and you just treat it nicely and well, it will last for 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 years, because most of the things they have invested in more high quality components. And if you just buy a cheap keyboard, like a very cheap mechanical keyboard with a cowl or Gateron switches, doesn't really matter, and you buy it for $40 on Alibaba, I mean, sure, the keyboard will be fine, but even if you treat it nicely, you can't expect it to last it for years,
Yeah.
because probably within a year or two, you will have key chatter on certain keys, or LEDs will die off, and you won't have any technical support or even warranty, because heck, did they even care? You
It's too
bought it.
cheap.
It's your problem. Yeah.
I think this is also from Gateron are good switches, yeah, but this is not about
Yeah.
the switches are also relatively
Mm.
cheaper than others on the market. The cheapest switch you can get on the market is a no brand switch, but if you would take a branded switch, then it's the Otomu switch would be the cheapest switch you
Mm.
can get. And the quality of Otomu switches are not. I mean, it's not really fuck shit, but
Well,
it's not the best.
I think even with the cheapest switches, it's not most of the time not the switches is what breaks, but the crappy soldering on a PCB. That's what gives it key chatter or makes a switch not work anymore.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. Well, Razer will just go for the cheapest one, but I assume that uh, Razer will always go for the cheapest one. That is just, and they will definitely have. I think for Otomu in this case, they'll definitely have some type of step in between to do quality control or to make sure there are no issues, because a general rule of thumb for a company that offers customer service and has warranties, right? You rather reduce your defect rate as much as possible than dealing with it afterwards, because dealing with it beforehand is much cheaper than dealing with it afterwards. So
Well, let's be honest. I mean, this is always the assumption I had from Logitech and a lot of other companies. Even though the G15 was a tank, but it also had different headsets from Logitech, and it just kept on breaking, and it was never a problem to just return them and get a new one. And the same goes for the mice. And then I sort of realized it's like, okay, I probably overpaid so much for this product, and that they just hope that I survive the 2 years, so my warranty goes away, and then I have to buy a new one. But if it happens in between, they don't care if they send 2 or 3 new ones to me.
I think that's definitely true, but still I think for this is the thing that's we have to face at one point as well, is that the products we're offering now, the cheapest is $140, the most expensive one is $160. Obviously we just have keyboards, okay, we only have two keyboards. So but end of the day, we would also need to find a way to offer a keyboard for $100, right? We want to be in this let's say the sweet spot when it comes to price quality, okay? Because that's where you sell the best quantity. And you need to make a keyboard for that. And the problem with making a keyboard for that is you need to cut on cost. And you need to find, there's different ways you can cut on cost, but you have to cut on cost somewhere. And I think for companies like Logitech and, well, let's say the bigger ones, they have Cooler Master is the most obvious one. They literally show it at the shows also. They'll show like a matrix, different keyboards, different I don't know if there was not like budgets or something, but it was like a cinnamon for the budgets that you would have, right? And each keyboard would be like, oh, it's this target group, that target group, that target group, and it would hit like every budget in the whole range.
Mhm.
And these companies, do they need to do it? I don't know, but that's how you would, let's say, fully exploit 100% of the market with your brand. Because now we are ignoring, for example, the $100 price range, right? Which would maybe cover 70% of the market, and our
Yeah.
price range only covers maybe like 20% or 10% of the market, right? So we're ignoring a really big market share in that way. So there is at some point you need to make some kind of consensus. How do you call it?
Concessions, yeah.
Concessions. So you can reach a certain price point, and with analog technology in this status right now, I don't see it. I don't know how to reach that price point. Maybe with a different kind of keyboard model with less analog keys, that would work, like a 10 key. I don't know what key, but that would be possible to reach a lower price point. But it's not easy.
And the question is, do we really want it now? I mean, even though we're doing this for 2 or 3 years, the whole winning story, we are still. I mean, if you compare it, of course we've grown, and there is more animo and more fame for analog keyboards in the world at the moment. And I think we are sort of at the brink where it will get more generally accepted, but it's still not. It's still far from perfect, to be honest.
Yeah.
And let's say if we focus on the cheaper keyboards or in a $60 to $100 range, those people, than the people who purchase a keyboard for 160 euros. And I think because if you buy a more expensive keyboard, it's a more conscious choice you make, and you know what you're getting into because you research it more. But if you just buy a $6 keyboard, it's like, I'm gonna buy a new keyboard because my keyboard broke down and I've got $60, so I buy this $6 keyboard, and hey, this doesn't work, and it isn't what it's supposed to do or what I'm expecting from the product. And those customers are very, very demanding and picky.
Yeah. That's which is very funny. I don't want to face that yet either, right?
No.
It's actually very funny. I guess the cheaper you go into the budget range, the more demanding the customer becomes.
Yeah.
And
well, and unless you go leave a breaking point of like 30 euros because people don't believe that.
Well, okay, yeah, you're right. There is definitely a breaking point. So let's say maybe on the higher end of the spectrum, people can accept more, even though they paid a lot of money for it and they want something, they expect something for it, but they're much easier going. And then the lower spectrum is like, well, this is what I could have expected from it, but they'll leave a really shitty review on Amazon though. Or even worse is it's so cheap that they are like, well, it has this and this which is bad, but it was so cheap that, it still works good, right? And then it's still
Can't
okay,
complain.
right?
Yeah.
And then everything in between, which is the biggest part, I guess, and especially in the Netherlands.
Oh my God.
They become, he only me.
Every Dutch person who buys something online. And the worst thing is,
Nimi already says it. They become more Dutch. That's exactly it.
Oh my God. The worst thing is, I am exactly the same. If I buy something, I want it tomorrow. If I don't have it, I'm going to complain. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to complain, and it will be our problem. How are we going to fix it? And it's.
I'll even be
customers, but even though I do the same, and it's so. Well, I don't actually hate it, but I mean it's.
I'll just be very frank. I've been recently helping a Dutch customer who's really getting on my nerves, because all the solutions that you offer this person, which are, let's say, fairly generous solutions, and you're not making a big issue out of it. There's no high requirements of filling whatever XX forms or whatever, right? In every email, there's like this passive aggressive voice, and it always ends with this sentence like, "Motherfucker, give me what I want, or I will be a very unhappy customer." And
I mean, but on the other hand, I mean, sure, it's right because they bought a keyboard for 140 euros. I mean, sure, you're allowed to complain about it, but it should still be within sort of reason. Yeah.
I mean, well, the issue is not so much the issue that I have. Well, and if you then compare to the Americans, with a lot of Americans, it's just too easy. Like it's very infrequent that there's any problem with any American.
But they are also way too polite, and that's also a problem from them, because it's like, maybe it's my mistake, maybe it's your mistake, but have a nice day, and thanks for all the help, even though it didn't fix it, but it's still like you guys. And
well, that one, yeah. Those kind of people, there's also those kind of customers which are the best, because those you can even send like whatever parts you want, and they'll actively do something. But in general, the way our customer service works and our general attitude is, you have a problem with the keyboard, we fix it, right? And depending on each customer, there will be different ways of fixing it. Some customers you already know, okay, they don't really understand, or they don't want to lift a finger. Let's just make this an easy, smooth process, so we also don't have a lot of time spent on this, and let's just like whoop, fix it and it's done. And other customers, well, they're pretty handy, they're very active in wanting to fix this, so we offer them all the necessary material that they'll need to fix it, and they do it, and which is great. So, but at the end of the day, it always comes down to one thing that we always want is anybody with Wooting keyboard has to be happy that they own a Wooting keyboard. It should not be a frustrating experience. So even with that Dutch customer I was just talking about, right? Even no matter how frustrated I feel about it, what happens is first I write an email where I'm frustrated, then I stop for a while, then I read it again, I delete it all, I write it again, and it's like, and then it's okay. And it's still very open and easy.
It was exactly like that email.
Yes, exactly like that. Hianimi. And this is, I think this is a typical thing in customer service in itself. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Quinn is so happy now because Calder ranted about something. Woo!
Oh no! In contrast, actually, I'm the kind of customer which, if I have a problem with my product or it doesn't work, I'll maybe throw an email to get warranty going or to get a new one. But if nothing really happens, I'm just like, well, fuck it, and I'll just buy a new one. Because you know what?
Exactly.
Because I'm really easy. For me, it's a very simple story. Do I want to spend the time and the frustration of going through all this? No. Am I willing to spend money for it? Sure. So there we go. Yeah. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often. So.
But I must admit, like, from all the bad emails we get or angry customers, I think like 90% of them we can spin it in a positive way, and in the end everyone is happy. But for, let's say there are 100 bad emails, but if there's like one email, it's like, oh, thank you guys for making this keyboard, it's really amazing, and I love you guys, and really thanks, I just want to say that just really makes my whole week, and I'm like happy for the rest of the month.
That's true.
So send positive emails. I mean, that's like, oh yes.
It makes me think of one more thing, because I was just thinking about this warranty stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think thankfully I've never had to do it yet. Warranty for like video cards or memory or something like that. Even if I had it no, I don't remember ever breaking. But you always get like these warranty cards with it, right, in the packaging.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know. The smartest thing to do is make a picture of it and save it or something like that, or put it in a box and you have the box somewhere, whatever. Which I do have at the moment, right? And I haven't had to use it yet. But then still thinking about the process of, oh my god, my video card broke, and then you have to get the card or something, and then go for this like multiple a lot of steps to report the issue. Yeah. Where's the fine, like I think for me it really depends on how old was the component, right?
I'm this way, I'm like very Dutch, okay? So let's say I have a 1080 whatever from MSI video card, and I bought it in a Dutch store somewhere. And for sure, what's going to happen is, okay, my video card broke down, okay, this is shitty. And I go to the store, and the store says like, yeah, well, but you need to contact the manufacturer because they avoid warranty, we cannot help you there. I mean, I'm Dutch, No, I bought it here. You are going to get me a new one today.
How are we going to solve this problem?
You can send it. I bought it from you. It's your responsibility. You should fix it. Now, today. Or bad reviews will happen.
I've never had a situation. Well, I'm also not the person that really writes reviews in general. In very rare occasions, I must really love the product for me to write a review. But I also don't write a review if I don't like it, unless I
will never write a negative
really
review. I only write a review if I'm like very surprisingly happy with the product. Then I would write a review. It's like, oh, it's the best ever. Yeah.
I have to be like really happy about a product. But and then I need to get the nudge, to write it. Like it's not like this headset, for example. I'm in general very happy with it. I wish it would last a bit longer than it's lasting right now. Couple of issues. I've tried to do the warranty way, but I was over my 2 years. I tried to do it in the okay, and the warranty way was really fast, which was very because I didn't have to go through all the steps. I just could send an email, show the invoice, and hey, what what are my options basically. And then because I'm in Taiwan, but I bought it in the Netherlands, they were like, well, you can go to a service center in Taiwan. So then it was like, okay, maybe I don't have the warranty, but then still I could like refresh the components or something like that, or get some new components for it. So I contact the Taiwan service center, and that's where I got frustrated, where I was like, because that was the moment where it was like, what was it again? You don't have the Taiwan warranty card? I was like, okay, don't you guys give like international service, like regardless of where I live? I thought you were like the world brand. This is for travelers, la la la. And it quickly ended there because it just came down to that they can't help me, which really sucks. And I would have spent money for some new components, and then I just give up, and I'm like, well, I'll just keep using it, or I have something else now for it actually. Yeah, that's where it ends.
So finally, we have a real question from Grizzly. Just need to thank everyone involved in Wooting 2, my new gaming keyboard. I'm so happy with it. The response and feel is so good. Thanks all. Best comment of the day. Everyone should learn from it.
Little Danish, this is Sennheiser, yeah. I actually want to reply on a comment from Big Brain AFK that came by, which because it went about keycaps. I mean, there is this keyboard that's pretty cheap with €150, which is the Wooting keyboard in this case. They use ABS keycaps, just hilarious. That was like making a joke about what kind of materials we're using that you would use for the price you pay. And Big Brain AFK, let me tell you a secret. These ABS keycaps are more expensive than your Chinese double shot keycaps, okay? Like 3 times more expensive. Okay. And then the second part is like, do you want to have Chinese double shot keycaps with the beautiful font, the beautiful gaming fonts and everything? I mean, it's better quality. Do you want it? We can put it on. It's cheaper for us.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned it, but this is like a whole different can of worms that I really don't want to open. But I read an article yesterday is that things are over-designed these days, and design should be in the second place.
Design take the second place?
According to the article, design should be on the second place, and technical stuff should be on the first place. So like user experience. So if the feeling of a double shot ABS keycap is nicer than an ABS keycap, even though it looks uglier, then according to the article you should opt for the double shot ABS because the feeling is better, even though it looks less beautiful. Because we're in a world where everything is over designed, everything is thought through. But then again, I'm a designer, so everything should be over designed, right?
I'm from opinion that if the design looks really great, it already influences your emotional experience with the product, which can mean that even if something is of inferior quality, you would still be able to perceive it as good quality. So design is, I feel, is a very, like you would say, is a very important aspect. My $60 keyboard is using dual injection keycaps. So the reason why those keycaps are cheaper is because they are mass produced. No, there's 2 reasons. One is they are mass produced and used over multiple keyboards they all use the same. That's why I see a lot of Chinese keyboards using the same keycaps if you look closely. The second part is to do a double shot injection keycap. It's just you have the injection part, which is 2 times because it's double shot, but it's in a single process, and then you take it out, you're done. With this ABS UV coated though, you have the injection, you take it out, it goes into a machine where a rolling band machine where it needs to be painted, which is additional material and process, and then it needs to be dried, which is another machine, and then it needs to be UV coated, which is usually it's just one big line and with all the same machines, but it's another machine, and then you have your UV and then it needs to be lasered, by the way. Sorry, and then it gets lasered, which is another process and another machine.
And then somebody packs it in a plastic blister, and then somebody at a different factory packs it out of the plastic blister.
That's also what happens with the PBT. So, but this is the reason why the UV coating part, the extra steps, is what makes it more expensive in the end. Plus that the UV coating stuff with the environmental issues in China is causing issues. So.
Okay. Enough ranting. Let's go to the DKS utility, where everyone is waiting for.
Don't get the 108 Wooting keycaps, please.
Captain.
It will not change the feel and sound of your keyboard. That's what I can tell you. It will just be the looks. Okay. Okay. Kanishi Link, can't wait to see PBT keycaps, even though I never buy any Wooting or haven't bought one. That's okay. That's okay. We'll make some PBT keycaps for you, okay?
You get there.
Okay, so we're going to look into new DKS.
Yes.
The enemy knows what he's talking about. Okay.
Well, better to get artisan keycaps, right? I mean, 2 weeks ago we saw the one with the little diamond in it, the sword from Zelda, was it?
I think so.
Oh no, Dota. It was Dota 2.
Oh yes, it was
right?
Dota.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna show the utility, but I can't see the chat from here. Let me jump on my phone. Good, I don't have a second screen.
Sorry, I'm still tired. Didn't have enough coffee for today.
Let me open up chat. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, if I'm right, we can see the utility. Hope it works.
Just wow, it's super full screen.
Yeah. It's a super full screen. I have there's no camera stuff. This is just full screen with a mouse.
Got a sick color theme though on the keyboard. I like that.
I have a lot of sick color. Look, it's all on the same. This one's more boring, I guess, but looks great on the keyboard.
You have the red escape key. That's.
All right, so okay, let's jump into. So this is the beta utility. So you can also download this already. And then here we have DKS.
I was such a turd for not using dark theme. Let's all laugh at him.
Well. Let me tell you why it's not on dark theme, okay? Because I had to make the I didn't do it on my PC, but I changed it because we talked last time about this. I didn't change it back anyway. Now we're on light theme. Okay, so here we have DKS settings, and this is the new interface. I don't know if you guys already saw it in the beta, if you guys have beta running right now, but I think there's compared to the previous beta, there's 2 significant improvements. One is from now on it's much easier to know where your DKS key is and much easier to start one. So if we do the most simple DKS binding that you will see is with W, we can click on it, and now you can see it's bound to W, and now we can start making actions here, because now DKS does nothing. And let's do the normal walk, shift walk thing. So we have W, left shift. So we want to have W throughout the whole range, and then we just only want to run starting the end of the press until the release, or no, until here. Only when you're all the way at the end of the press you want to be sprinting. So I don't even need to save the keyboard different, right? So now you have this DKS binding, and now let's see it in action. You can see here a preview window. If I press W, this is half pressed, and this is all the way down pressed, and you can see what's happening on your DKS. It is a very simple preview at this moment, but it's a question to Erik if this will get any better. But I guess that's where we can use your feedback.
Well, sure, we have like more different ideas, and okay, I think it was Darren who proposed a really, or it was Darren VS on Meet Daryl on Discord who proposed a very cool thing with where you just remove the whole keyboard view there and have a very sick big loading bar with your bindings on top of it, and you can actually see what's happening and get sort of a feedback. And yeah, I think it was Darren VS, and I really liked the idea, and you and I we played around with it, but it also it felt like if you would use it, that it was too complicated for somebody who didn't understand how DKS worked. And then we thought, like, okay, how can we simplify it? And we had some different ideas, and even though some of them were pretty technical, challenging, and we really want to get DKS in a live version, and that's why we opted in for, okay, let's have this little text box here so people have at least a little preview of what's going on, and in the future we'll have a different kind of preview, but it will take long. It will take a lot. Well, it will take a little bit long before we can implement something that's up to par, to say the least. But for now, this is like already a big improvement from the old DKS, because with the old DKS you had to first click a green button for other binding, then you had to go to the right side, click a key you wanted to bind, and then you had to, set your bindings and everything. And now we simplified all the steps by just having it on a keyboard view. And that was also like it was very fun that you and I didn't realize it, but one of the big reasons why we even did the whole utility redesign was that we wanted to have the keyboard more prominent in view, and that's why the keyboard is always like on the top half of your screen. And the funny thing is we didn't actually use it in a very good way, and that's why we also realized, hey, we need to include it more with setting up things, and for DKS it's like perfect. Yeah.
I saw something, by the way, you have to make a tutorial when you are releasing the DKS. So yes, you're right. We're working on it right now. There's a new quick overview video coming out, and there's going to be specific smaller video segments for each part. And the aim here is that we're going to have like less than 2 minute video. Each video is like less than 2 minutes to explain the concept. So the quick overview is a 2 minute video, and then if you go into DKS, it's not more than a 2 minute video. So you can really quickly and easily understand different things about the utility.
Well, and the thing is, we're not going to help anyone with setting it up to your own needs, but we really want to explain how the concept works so you can understand it and you can create your own. But how do you remove a DKS binding, Calder?
Well, let me tell you, that is something that is still not intuitive, because I've said this multiple times in the past when trying DKS. If you want to remove this bar, you would think you need to right click, just like how you remove everything else in the utility. But no, left click. And then you want to remove this key, right click. Right click.
Do you need to left click on that thing?
Yes, you need to left click this one to remove.
Let me make a little bug report for you then.
So, first feedback for beta. I was faster than Darren. Hell yeah. Oh wait, you downloaded. Can we get an auto start minimized, please? So Grizzly Sweden, I'm guessing what you mean
is that when you start utility, it will be minimized. I think the utility isn't a program that you need to run constantly in the background. I mean, once you've set it up for your keyboard or it's working fine, then it's fine, right? And most of the time when you want to change something, you make the conscious decision of opening the utility. So opening it minimized, I don't see the...
There is a min,
Out-
isn't there?
Well, sure you can minimize, but
But there is a
not on startup.
there is a minimized utility. If you have utility open and you minimize it, it gets into the taskbar minimize. But what we don't have is an auto start, automatically start up the utility, because there's no point. The utility is not like a driver running in the background controlling programs or something like that. It's just a configuration software. So that's why there's no auto start. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah. But that, in the future, it should change. Though.
I hate programs that auto started.
I'll tell you something. I'll just say the name. My Z-mouse driver.
So annoying.
I have two issues now, okay? One, in the program itself, I'm not able to disable auto start, okay? Which is very frustrating. Two, yes, you can do it with Windows itself in whatever settings, but three, I decided, well, fuck it, I don't need it anyway, let me remove it from my PC. It's not in between the applications. So how do I uninstall it? There's only one way. I have to literally delete the folder and keep all the trash that it leaves in my drivers, whatever changed. So, not so great for me.
The Razer Synapse is actually even worse than the Z-mouse thing. And actually, it is the only reason why I still have the Z-mouse software on there is because I actually use a Z-mouse. But the Razer one, it's so annoying. I just need to log in every time or something. It doesn't remember my username, and I didn't know how to disable it on the startup, so I just removed everything from Razer from my computer.
I've never had a Razer product. I had a mouse once, but I returned it because I really didn't like it.
But I really want to go back to. Well, that's it's. No, I'm not going to talk about Razer. I mean, Razer has some.
Dr. Meteor says, yeah, once there is a service for the SDK or something that would have to run 24/7, but the utility itself, I don't see the point.
No.
Sorry, I went a little bit back in topics then for this, but that's exactly the thing. And there will be something, there will eventually, like what we're working towards, but the time frame is not very clear yet because it's a long road that we have to pave. But eventually there will be a service that will run in the background to do more complicated stuff and add more feature sets to the keyboard that you could just simply not do on the keyboard itself, or becomes like right now we have a lot of this driver stuff happening, right, with the keyboard itself and player slot assignment issues, blah blah blah, and those kind of things. There's just a limitation to what you can do through firmware on the keyboard. So at that point, there would be like a light something running in the background to handle that kind of stuff. It's just the question is always how much can you rely on it? Because Razer Synapse, for example, and I don't know how much Crosshair Q does it, but I assume they also do it to a certain extent. But especially Razer Synapse relies on their software a lot for their devices. So very few things happen on the hardware itself. A lot goes through their software, and at that point, the software becomes clunky. At least from my experience.
Yeah. I want to go back to DKS, to be honest, because Cypher had a comment. I would like to see a slide of press visualizer under the testing line to represent activation chain. It's a cool idea. It has some pros and cons, but I will reconsider it with Jeroen to maybe add it. Yeah. Another thing is what Brain AFK said, Big Brain. I just realized you can use DKS to rebind any key to another key, and that's actually what I have on one of my profiles for the Wooting 2. because I rebinded my numpad to different tools for Photoshop and Illustrator, and even some, cool combos like actual DKS use, and that's pretty neat and convenient.
There's a article on the knowledge base also different things you can do with DKS, and one of them is also you can reprogram keys. Though it's
Mm.
showing the old DKS system, it still applies for the new DKS system.
I think with the new DKS system, you even have more freedom than the old one, which is sick.
Yes, functionally, yes, definitely. Um, yeah, so I think the advanced DKS. I mean, we just did a small showcase, but that was kind of it.
Mm.
It really becomes interesting once you start exploring different ways to use it. And I'm not
Like
sure
you said in the Kickstarter video, like once you start thinking outside the box.
possibilities are endless or something. But
Yeah.
um, actually, and I'm not sure if we should put it in the tutorial video. In the tutorial video will be a couple of examples of how you can use DKS, I guess. Various things, which I guess also, because we haven't made the video yet, I have to make it soon, will be something like like DKS, how you would use it in general, of course, like what's the general concept. Then you have like, okay, you can do like the running, the shift running style, or control for PUBG for slow walking, right? Then you have like the rebinding idea. You can use it to rebind keys. And then the fourth one is you can also use it to change the activation point of a key. Even though right now you cannot choose exactly the activation point, but you can at least choose if it's at the start or at the end of the key, or when it activates a single key, which can help you. For example, if your spacebar is too sensitive, then you can change it to the lowest point. Um, there will be individual activation points, by the way, coming up in a future update. But what else? There should be more. I mean, there's the toggle inventory idea that was for Apex, but I really wish to hear some more different ideas of how to use it, and we
Well,
can look into
I
it.
think the most important thing is what we need to do is educate everyone how the concept of DKS works, and then people can find their own uh, use for it. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, this is some interesting conversation going on in the chat. Deepak, why people cannot roll back Wooting firmware even from newest beta to previous beta version? Uh, well, most of the time we don't do any major. Well, sure, we do major changes in the firmware if we update it, but we will not remove all features in most of the cases. So I don't even see the use why you want to roll back to a different firmware version. And then Big Brain
I
AFK,
think
I'm more
only
interested in why
for
you cannot update an old Wooting 1 firmware with the newest utility. And yes, that's an issue. And that's also something that's coming to the live version pretty soon. Uh, because what we're now lacking is a sort of force update for new users, which we had in the old utility. And a lot of functions, especially RGB light and DKS, won't work with one of the earliest versions of the firmware. And that's why we need to have a force firmware update for older versions. Yeah, that will also come to the live version. So that's also an issue we are aware of. And yeah, yes.
yeah, yeah, I think that's actually very critical. And like you said, it's a very urgent thing.
Mm.
Um,
I
rolling
mean,
rolling back in
it's.
firmware is actually for uh, if I would think about it, if you're in alpha, for example, it would be very useful to be able to quickly change the whole firmware software stuff, because alpha should be very unstable. Beta
Mhm.
should not be the case, but then still, for switching between beta and public, you could definitely argue that you just want that to be a smooth process for an end user, because beta should be the new stable, and public should be like the super stable. So you do want to be able
Mhm.
to switch between those two, because beta can offer you more features. But if it's causing an issue for you that won't be solved very fast, to roll back to the super stable public would be would be nice, because I noticed
No,
it
but
myself also with.
I think at the moment you can already, if you have beta firmware, you can already roll back the live firmware if you open a live utility.
Well, I had the problem with my keyboard being on beta now, and then I had the public version open, and stuff was fucked up.
But you can, I think you can push a firmware update there.
Not sure. I guess if I would reset the keyboard, I can just throw on the public version on it. That would fix it, but that's not really user-friendly thing to do.
But I think if you have an
Anyway,
alpha version, we probably also have we already have an updater tool. It's more of an internal thing where we can switch between firmwares really fast and go to everything we need to have and even some other stuff.
yeah,
But I think if we have an alpha version, it will probably be there somewhere in the settings where you can just choose your firmware.
yeah, and I think it, yeah. Okay. Anyway, right. I think we've covered a lot of stuff, and we're over an hour already. I think we covered everything for DKS, right? Are we missing something for DKS?
Yes,
Thinking. Dun, dun,
yes.
dun. When is it coming to public?
DKS is the coolest thing that ever happened to a keyboard, right? I mean, it's still it's pretty unique in the world. What other
Yeah,
keyboard
well,
can do DKS?
no, yes, we're the only keyboard in the world that can do DKS. I think the
Sick.
closest you can get is with auto hotkey.
We also thought about the name DKS, right? Because when we first launched the very first version of DKS, the name made sense because the name for DKS is actually double keystroke or anything. But now it's more like quantum keystroke. We should actually name it QKS, but then, well, that
I
sounds dumb.
still,
DKS.
I still like what somebody else mentioned in the other stream where we're talking about, was just to name it dynamic keystroke.
That's so smart. Why aren't we so smart, Calder?
Well, that was, I forgot who said it again, but that was like, okay, dynamic keystroke, great.
I like dynamic keystroke. That's insane. It's we
It
are so
doesn't
bad
matter.
with coming up with names. We even didn't think of the utility ourselves. It was Quinn, and dynamic keystroke is pretty neat. Oh, about now I sort of realized this. Early the stream we had a conversation about gaming brands and gaming keyboards, and that most brands have gaming in the name. But let's be honest, if you have the Logitech G series, so that sort of gamers, you have Razer with their slogan, and then you have Corsair, that's also a gaming brand, and Cooler Master is probably a gaming brand. But there isn't like a real gaming brand who have something in the name about gaming. But we do, right? I mean, we have Wood in our name. Can you
Oh,
go even more gaming than Wood? I don't think so.
but
Sick.
what is, yeah, but I remember there was this like show called Pwned about a pro gamer that like a documentary about a pro gamer, which is a mock-up documentary, like a
Mm.
how do you call it?
Real live television. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a,
On
yeah,
YouTube.
exactly. But it's all set up, of course, but which is really fun. But that was an actual gaming name, but that was not a gaming brand. There's no gaming brand name unless you. Well, okay, there is. You just pick an animal of the animal kingdom. That's your gaming name, gaming brand. Cougar.
Cougar is something else in the real world. But
Okay.
Wooting. So everybody doesn't know what Wooting means, and it's sort of nobody actually knows because the internet is full of stuff. But we just keep to this story because we like it the most and it suits us the best. Uh, Wooting is slang for it's our own slang based on the word wood, what people used to say back in the days of online gaming. And like if you would win or dominate somebody else, you would say would, or if you did something like really crazy, you would say would in the chat. And it actually meant, according to some sources, we owned the other team. Would.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
it
it.
was especially. Forgot where if it was Quake. I forgot if it was Quake or not. But that's where we own the other team was the actual definition for Woot, because you had these 2v2s or something like that. Kind of forgot. But since that is often, it's kind of like, you know, when you see a new abbreviation for something, you don't really know what it means, but you see in what situations people use it, and then you start using it as well, and then it spreads in this way. And that also happened to Woot, and then all of a sudden, because Woot, you would always use it when you're owning the other team, so basically you're either winning or you played very great, you won, or you're playing really great, or, and which also would say you're very happy or victorious, right? So then all of a sudden it became a word that people used for cheering in a way, like a victory cheer, or like a very happy
celebration.
Yeah.
According to Google, the first thing if you Google Woot, it's like used to express elation, enthusiasm, or triumph.
Yeah, there you see, there you go. So that's something that came to be after the original We Own the Other Team, and that's always how it's been for online gaming. Just like Ruffle, LMAO, LOL, it all comes from gaming, and they're all abbreviations for whatever. And
the things, if you look at Wikipedia and you search for W00T, it has a whole thing about Woot and what it means. And according to the Wikipedia page, it doesn't mean we own the other team, but people actually in the gaming jargon they made it, but it was already used way before for a celebration and different sport things, and it didn't actually mean we own the other team. But we stick with we own the other team because, you know,
that's
only the winners write history. Only the winners write history.
Yes. Music Box also says, used to say Woot Woot when I played Halo. And now I have Wooting too, the cycle of life.
Yes.
Maybe I was just thinking it could also say something about our generation, right? Are we old now? But it's definitely an our generation kind of thing that just stuck with us.
I think these days you would just say like GGWP or GG Easy or Good Game Easy. Like that's what you say when you win. And they have like the more specific things like C9 if you win in a cheesy way. Yeah.
Makes me think about Guild Wars, Erik, where you would say WTS, LFG, or
LFG, F/F, Nuker, Blox Healer. I want to play Guild Wars again. Shit.
Damn. Not Guild Wars 2.
No, not the first Guild Wars.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Wait, you are live? Yes. But you just woke up. No, but we're actually wrapping up now. So you're just like an hour and a half too late, or longer. Hour and a half. So thank you for joining the live stream. We're back again in 2 weeks, but then on a Friday, not a Saturday. Tuesday is the public release of Advanced DKS. Join the beta right now in Discord and give that final feedback for polish. And what else? If you're waiting for a Wooting 2, we're working on it. If you have a Wooting keyboard, you're awesome. If you don't have one, buy one soon. Where's the link to the store, guys?
You can Google it. We're so famous. Yes, thanks everyone for joining. Great that you were here, Big Brain AFK. Maybe we'll do different live streams in the future for different times, because I still think we're missing a big of the US audience every time we stream, which is such a shame.
Yeah, we can. Either you or me needs to stream. We can't stream at the same time for US, because and my time will probably be the best because I can catch the night and you can catch the morning in the US.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me help you guys with one thing. Here you can pre-order Wooting 2. just to get some
Yes.
commercials going of our own company on our stream. And see you in the next
See you in the
stream
next
or
one.
Discord, guys.
Bye bye.